There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, neither do I.
1, 2, 3, set, go!
Hello out there, and thanks for checking out this episode of the Power Chord Hour podcast. It is episode 132, and I am your host, Anthony Merchant, as always, welcoming you to the show. We got our first monthly rundown of the year with our January 2023 rundown. That is going to be the pod for this one, me flying solo. I know it's a couple days late. It is, as I'm recording this, February 3rd. I've been bad at these. Same with, admittingly, I mean, the December rundown came out, I mean, when I got back from Illinois at the beginning of January, which was like 5 days into the new year. So, and I don't even think I did it I can't remember if it came out that day or like the following day or something. But, yeah, I've been a little just busy with stuff. So, I mean, doing these rundowns it's kind of funny too, because even though it's me going solo, I guess in some ways it is a little more like you can almost, admittingly, you can put these on the wayside a little if you get busy, where I can go, well, I record this myself. I don't have a guest, I don't have to be on anyone else's schedule. So there's I won't even lie about it. There are times where it's like, well, I'm really busy today, I can do it tomorrow. And then you get really busy the next day and you keep pushing it back. Whereas if you do an interview and you go, hey, I'm talking, we're doing the interview Wednesday at 5 p.m., you can't flake like that. You can't just go, oh, well, I'm busy, I'll do it later. It's like, no, that's just part of your schedule now. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe there is that. I'll throw myself under the bus a little. I mean, it's not that I haven't been busy, but just, yeah, when you do these solo, I think you can push them back a little more. And sometimes then you go, well, just a little more, and then just a little more. And then all of a sudden it's February and you haven't done the January rundown yet. But here we are. I can't believe the first month of the year is already over. But I mean, I think I talked about it a pretty good amount, probably even on the last for the December rundown, because I was coming back from Illinois. But I mean, I spent the first almost week in Illinois. So like when I look where I'm recording right now at home, I have a big calendar in front of me. Which sometimes if you watch the video interviews of the show, you might see me looking up, and if I am, I'm probably looking at the calendar trying to figure out like the day the show will air, or like whatever it is, whatever I'm looking at my calendar for. But like last month, every time I'd be like, where'd January go? Or man, I can't believe this month is flying by. I would look up at this calendar, and I mean, like the first 5 days I have circled out with just Springfield, Illinois, just in all like caps. It's like, oh, that's where it went. I mean, I guess I did spend quite a bit of time there, but not a bad thing. I mean, it was a very fun way to start the new year. One of my favorite probably New Year's of my life. I kind of blow New Year's sometimes because I'll wait till last minute to make plans. And then they're never, I don't know, I feel like they're lackluster. Like, not that I haven't had good New Year's before, but like, I don't feel like I consistently do. Like, some people, I feel like every year that's a party. Like, that's just a damn party. You have a good time. I'm always kind of like, I wait long, and then I ask like that flaky friend or something, like, hey, should we do something, or what's going on? And then those plans fall through, like a lot of that. So I was like, this year, I was on it, like, just, definitely earlier, like, hey, like, Zach, like, I'm coming up, we're going to hang out, we're going to have a party at your house, all that good stuff. And, yeah, it worked out in my favor, I think. It was, January flew by, but January was pretty fun for the most part. I mean, even as I record this right now, it's below zero outside here in Western New York. It's definitely not warm outside. And, it's crazy because just yesterday, I mean, I was out hiking it, and I mean, it wasn't beautiful out. It was like 30-something degrees, and the sun was out, which, depending where you live, you either probably go, oh, yeah, I mean, that's kind of warm for this time of year. You go, oh, my God, I'd never go out in that. But, a little bit of hiking in January, too, but kind of going back and forth. We have a little weird weather here. That's why it really is that time of year where it's like, I get bored because I'm like, fuck, I don't feel like there's much going on, but it's exactly that. There's not much going on. So it's like, I guess you got to remember when it's below zero out and it's, sometimes white out snow conditions and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, there's not a whole lot to go do. It is a good time to like stay in the house. And that's why I like asking too. Like I'll ask, like I interview like musicians and stuff, like if they're more creative this time of year. And it's kind of interesting because I do think people, when you talk to them and they live in like, say the Midwest or something, I do actually think there's truth to that, because they're just, I mean, just telling you from living in a place like it, it's like, it's January right now, and it's like, there's not tons and tons going on. It's not the most eventful part of the year. And I mean, also just because it is so cold, things become a little more seasonal when you live in an area like that. And it is kind of the time where it's like, oh yeah, like time to write a record, or time to, it like, you look at like during COVID and stuff, I mean, it pushed so many people because you're stuck in the house to like, do whatever that creative endeavor that you've been putting off was. And I feel like it's to a smaller version, obviously not comparing, winter, some snow to a pandemic, but like, it's kind of that deal though, where, you're kind of in the house a lot more. So it's like, there is that, like, the kind of like with this, where it's like, you can be like, oh, I'm going to do that later because I gotta go do this. And it's like, keeps getting put off. It's like, then you're like pushed right in front of it, because you really have no excuses. It's like cold out, and it's like, what the hell are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? I'm kind of doing that today. I still got to go down to work, but, I'm at home just kind of getting shit done, and it's like, a part of me is like, damn, I wish I was out doing something. I'm like, but what would I be doing? I'm like, what is it that I think I'd be doing right this second? I guess you need some downtime sometimes. I forget that. I like to, not even that I'm like energetic every second. I definitely like my sleep, and I like to be lazy, but I also think I like to like at least do something every day, and something kind of fun too. Like, I don't just like, work or whatever bullshit. Like, I actually want to like do something every day. It's like, all right, that was a good time, that was fun. But so it's those cold months when it cooperates, it's all right. I get out there. When it doesn't, I am inside, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm catching up. I'm recording this podcast. I probably should have recorded a couple days ago, but hey, here we are. Thank you for checking it out. We started the year with 2 returning guests. That was really fun. We again, it's that quiet part of the year, not a whole lot going on, but not it's funny though, for most people, if you're Maddie Grace, that is not true. She now we're in February. I can't remember what's coming out this month, but I believe we're now in Maddie Grace season, where there's like something coming out once a month that she's involved with. But that was really fun getting to chat with her, and same with Leo of Reminders. Cool to kind of start the year with 2 familiar faces. I think we have a couple others too. I'll be honest. I won't name names and jinx anything, but I think we have a couple other like past guests who will be coming back on, which I think is very cool. I like that. I like having people on a couple times and kind of figuring out that, like, I know Zach and Kyle, the Bad Boys of Illinois, which really just been life. I mean, it's nothing like, there's definitely not like oh fuck those guys, like that's why like they're not on. I know it's been quite a while since they've been on, but like, it's just getting 3 people's schedules to connect and do everything. Life just kind of gets in the way in that sense. But like, I still think, honestly, like, even though some of my favorite episodes, obviously, like interviewing like legends and stuff like that, I also think some of the best episodes are just like me, Zach, and Kyle just bullshitting, because it's just like, we're just buds, and they kept coming on the show, and it's like, you're just bound to, if you're gonna do a 3-hour episode, a couple times, like every other month or whatever, it's like, you keep kind of figuring that out with each other, and you build off of it, and you kind of build that really, even though we're all friends anyways outside of the show, you kind of build that on-air relationship. And really, really enjoyed having Leo and Maddie to kind of open up 2023. But it was the same thing, because I was looking, and like even there's even some albums that are kind of doing their like milestone anniversary this year from people we've had on before, where I'm like, oh man, it'd be great to like have them back. But even that is crazy, where I'm like, to getting to the point now where it's like asking someone who has already come on and like talked about a record for an anniversary to come back and talk about another record for another anniversary, and not even like months later. Like, sometimes it's like they might not have been on the show for like the last 3 years or something. I mean, it's just it's wild in that way. But I mean, also February is going to be marking the 7th anniversary of the show starting, at least the radio show. I mean, back in 2016 up until the end of 2019, all radio. And I mean, this show's been going on 7 years now. So then I think of that and I go, yeah, I guess that is true. It's like there's been, I mean, you go all the way back to 2016. I had, I shouldn't say guests. I had one guest in 2016, Mr. Steve Neurotic of Shower with Goats, in like, it would have been November of 2016. It's not a lot of time to have more people, but then 2017, we kind of started. I was thinking about this the other day, because I mean, I've said I fluctuate throughout the years. I mean, last year is really the first year that I consistently had guests on this show, almost on a weekly basis. But it is interesting because like I was thinking about it more, and I'm like, I started in 2016, and then 2017, I wasn't doing them weekly, but like I probably had, I don't know, I'd have to go back and count, but like, I had a handful of guests on that year. I mean, I would say for a while once a month. I then a couple months of quietness. And then 2018, like I just totally like, if you go back and look, I mean, I had a handful of interviews. Like I think I might have done like, I don't even know, maybe like 5 or 6 interviews that entire year, which actually 2019 wasn't all that. I'm saying that, but 2019 wasn't all that different either. But, I look at that and part of me is like, oh my God, like, what was the dip? But then also it's just like with this, it's life. And then I think about it and go like, oh yeah, like, I was also working in top 40 radio. Then I traveled for 4 months out of that year. So, I mean, there was also, it's kind of hard to interview people there. Actually, funny enough with that, and I'm sure I've told this story on here, but on that 4-month trip, funny enough, I was supposed to interview Trevor Keith face to face in 2018 when they were doing a tour. I was in Sacramento, staying at my family's house, and I got free tickets, got to go in. I was gonna interview him, and he played the show, but he was like under the weather, had to like say it was, which I believe it too, because when he was at first I thought I was kind of getting blown off. I won't lie, I'm kind of like, all right, like the dude's just not in the mood to do an interview right now, obviously. But then he got on stage, and I mean, like he even like I think like after song 1 was like, hey, like just want to apologize, like I'm a little under the weather right now. And so yeah, I mean, he wasn't like blowing me off or anything like that, not in that way. But yeah, funny enough, as I was thinking about that, there was that, and maybe even another interview I think I tried setting up while on the road that didn't seem to work. I always think I'm going to do a bunch when I travel, and then it doesn't seem. Maybe I'll do like 1 or 2 maybe, and that's a big maybe. But I always kind of have this big like idea that I'm going to do one. I remember I still laugh at it because me and my buddy thought we were going to do that at Skatopia when we went a couple years ago. David, who of 19 Cent Zine, and he's been on the show. But I mean, we really thought we were going to do an episode at Skatopia, and it's like we got it to Skatopia as the like sun was going down. And we were like hanging out with people and having fun all night. We were only there for like a night and like left the next day. And it's like, yeah, when did we ever think we were going to do that? Like we're at Skatopia. That's not the time to do a fucking podcast. Like that's not the time to. I think that's what happens most of the time. Is I think I'm going to do them on traveling. I'm like, I'm not fucking doing this right now. Like I'll do this in like a couple weeks when I get back home, kind of deal. But yeah, looking at that and just going like, I traveled a lot. I moved to Minneapolis in 2018 and just doing and then also exploring the city, 2019, spending that exploring the city I moved to and everything. And but yeah, I feel like interviews and stuff kind of went by the wayside. I still did the show, but just kind of stuck to the radio show. And I forget that sometimes. I go, why did it take me so long to start the podcast, do more interviews and stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. It was a thing that I like, it was a labor of love, and I took it seriously, but not in the same way of like, I took it seriously, but like as kind of more of a serious hobby. And I don't know, maybe in some ways it is still kind of that, but like, obviously trying to put these out weekly, get guests as often and almost as weekly, as I can. And all that good stuff. But it's just crazy to look through the years, there's eras of this show that I can look through and go like, oh yeah, that was that era, that was this era. Like, it's just insane to me. It's crazy to look back at that. It's crazy it's February. It's crazy this show's turning 7 years old. I mean, it's just wild. But I don't know that we'll get a better. I'm still trying to, I don't know how we're going to celebrate. I mean, the radio show doesn't fall on it did last year. But this year it falls like a day or two after the actual anniversary day. But I'm still thinking of something fun to do. I mean, every year we kind of do something at least that week to kind of celebrate. But I don't think anything will be better than last year when we had Travis Shettle on to talk about We're the Only Friends We Have for its 20th anniversary. Because that album came out the same day that the Power Chord Hour premiered in 2016. And I mean, that was pretty damn cool. And actually, that was also, I believe, our first episode in the 4-hour time slot. As we could start playing, I got to play that record front to back after. But yeah, I don't know that I'll be able to do something as cool as that. I mean, maybe, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm still trying to think of that. I mean, I got a little time, but I mean, as the whole like first 15 minutes of this podcast, as you probably know, I've been talking about how you kind of put something off for a second, and then all of a sudden you look and go, oh, what the fuck? It's been like a month. Like, I'm good at that. I'm notorious for that. I won't lie. I'm notorious for that. So, I don't know. We'll figure that out. But even on progress, actually, I know I talk about on here to the point where you're probably like, yeah, you're never going to do one. But really, truly putting a show on here in Jamestown, a concert. And I think I've kind of regained like interest. I've talked to some bands who are definitely interested. Like, I mean, no problem finding the lineup and stuff. And then I kind of started reaching out to people and like asking about like good venues around here. Cause again, I've never put on a show. Like I'm trying to figure out because I'm not looking for a place to go rent for like, a couple $100. And so it's like, I'm trying to put on a cheap punk show. Like, I'm really not trying to I'm not trying to make money off this. I'm not trying, like, I just want to put on something and, 50 people show up. If 50 people show up, I'll be stoked. But I think I got some leads on like good venues and I actually have choices too. So, that might still happen. Again, I have no dates, nothing like that. But I mean, all of that kind of was a nice inspiration to be like an extra push. I was already kind of regaining interest. But once I realized that it is doable now. Like before it seemed impossible to find a place what I wanted to do. Now it seems possible. And again, the bands aren't a problem. I mean, I talked to enough bands and enough around this area where not problem to find talent. That's not an issue at all. But now I think we have a place. So we'll figure that out. Probably late spring, early summer. I would like to have time to promote it and all that. I don't know. I feel like I also overthink it because again, I've never put on. I mean, it's also, I'm sure if I go back to, starting this show 7 years ago, I probably overthought so much shit that just didn't need to be, overthought or maybe even thought of at all. So, I think it's the same thing. Like, I think I overthink the idea of just, get 3 or 4 bands together, go find a little venue, keep it cheap and just do it and have fun, I mean, obviously easier said than done. There's a little more than that to it, but, really that mentality is probably not bad to have to be like, fuck it, just jump in. Like, there's only so much to it. But, I mean, I would love, to like get that going and then, I don't know, see if I could do more with it. I've had that interest, like that and like running a record label are two things that like, they dance in my mind throughout the years. They're not consistently. Like the thing is like I can tell you throughout the years I've thought about what it'd be like running a record label, or that'd be interesting and stuff. But like it's not like a thing I think of every waking day. There's probably literal years where I don't even think about it. But like throughout my life, I will get sounds like, damn, that would be really cool to like put out records and this or that. But same with putting on shows where it's like and never visions of like this big time promoter. I'm just like Jamestown. We don't really get shows from like punk and alternative bands that I like, and it's like, well, I mean, if people aren't like booking these bands I like, I guess I'll have to do it myself, kind of that mentality. But I'd love to do more of that. But obviously, I probably don't have to tell you. Once I figure it out more and have more details, I won't shut the fuck up about it, and I'll be promoting it on here and letting you know when that show is and the band's playing and everything. But that should be a good time. I'm having fun brainstorming that and thinking that out. And now it feels real because, like, again, I've talked about it. I've talked about the show on and off for probably at least a year or so. And, I hit some roadblocks and now I'm like, oh no, this seems like it's going to happen. I don't have a date, but it seems like it's going to happen now. So that makes me a happy boy very much. And, what else? I mean, I was busy in January, but also like working, hanging out with friends, like nothing, I don't feel like anything super, super eventful. I hit up 2 shows for the beginning of the year, which actually, considering the last couple years, not bad to hit 2 shows in a month. But saw the Menzingers on the way back from Springfield. And then the Eves, I did get to go to their record release show. I mean, one of our last guests of 2022, and they absolutely killed it. They did such a great job up at Mohawk Place in Buffalo. They put on such a great show, including, and it sucked because afterwards I got to go up to Buffalo, but I had to get back for work the next day, so I didn't really get to hang out afterwards and see the dudes. I like literally like coming out of the bathroom, I ran into Adam for like literally like 2 seconds. So like, hey man, like, like stoked for the show, like, like thanks for coming up and stuff. But like, thought I was going to talk to him later, but ended up having to leave. Plus also, I mean, it was a record release show up in their hometown. I mean, I'm sure there were lots of people for them to which also, I mean, the show was pretty fucking packed. I got to say, that was like, they had really nice attendance. But what I was going to say is they hadn't played live in 3 years. That was their first show back in 3 years, not playing a show. And it's their record release show. And their drummer, who is actually Chelsea's drummer in Stress Dolls, Josh, he played with them. And I think they figured out he was going to play with them like a week before. So I think they might have rehearsed for like a week or whatever. And they sounded amazing. They sounded absolutely great. They played, I want to say, what was there? There's like 9 songs on their new record. They played probably 8 of them. I can't remember what song they didn't play. I want to say there was like one song they didn't get to, but like they played like almost an entire record. And it just, again, they sounded really, really good. They got a trumpet player in there to do the trumpet parts, which was really neat, because I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't sure what the setup would be, if they'd be a trio or what. But 2 guitars, Chris singing, then you had again Josh on drums, then you had the trumpet. So it was like it was kind of a nice little lineup there. But they sounded so good, and so did both openers. They were both really good. Trash Talk and Roger Bryan and the Orphans. It was a good time, man. I mean, it was a really good time, and I finally got to meet Chelsea of Stress Dolls. I mean, I've interviewed her on this show. We've talked for years, but like never actually met in person. And dumb me, I never even thought about this. It's so funny because like I was talking to her like the day before the show, and I knew I was coming up, but it didn't even hit me because I was asking her about record stores. Like, hey, I'm coming up to Buffalo tomorrow. Like, what are you obviously know record stores up there better than I do. Like, where are some places to go? It didn't even hit me to go like, oh yeah, I'm going to the Eve show. Like, I swear, like in my head, it never even went like, oh, probably a possibility you might be there. Like more local Buffalo. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Eves and Stress Dolls have played together. But yeah, it was funny. I was like looking down at my phone at the show and playing with it in between sets, and all of a sudden there was like someone standing in front of me. Oh, there's Chelsea. And it was great. It was great to meet her and talk a little bit. And I was sad because she just played in Fredonia like the following week, and I shouldn't say goddamn work. I do love my job. It's really fun being on radio. But I had an interview that had to get rescheduled, and at first I was like, oh, it's great. They weren't playing until like 10 o'clock at night up in Fredonia, and then I had an interview for the week, and it was like I had to get it ready for Friday's Arts on Fire, my other show on WRFA, and just getting that done. And it was like by the time which like I never thought, I was like, oh, I got all day, and then the guest had to reschedule, and it was like, oh, I don't think I'm making it up there now. That happens in radio. You never know. That's the thing with like interviews and stuff. That's what I was talking about. Is you would think it's the other way though, because of the fact that like if you're going solo, you can do it anytime. But sometimes locking it down, except for things like that, when you got to reschedule, then that idea of the permanence of locking it down and being like, oh, well, I have to do this at this time that day kind of changes. But I was bummed because I didn't get to see her the next week play Fredonia. But yeah, I gotta catch Stress Dolls still live. That'll be a good time. And I mean, if you live near Buffalo, or if you live in Jamestown or somewhere in this area, keep an eye out because she plays a lot of solo shows. They do full band shows and stuff. But yeah, I was bummed missing that. And at BJ's too, up in Fredonia, which now is as a 30-year-old, I was like, I feel like I've went through all of it too, because I remember going to shows at BJ's. I say it like everyone listening just obviously knows what BJ's is. It's just a little dive bar, like, I don't know, a mile away from the college in Fredonia, but it's a good dive bar. It's kind of like a college dive bar. But it's funny because like I remember going to shows there when I was underage and having to like I didn't live up in Fredonia. We're like 30 minutes away. But having to find like the guy who was putting on the shows back when like Keep Flying would play there when there's still Survey Says. Man, I'm talking like 2012, 2013. But I was like 19, 20 and still underage, and like I had to go find the dude who was like putting on those shows on Twitter, and like through the band, I'd be like, hey, like is this I'm 19 or 20. Can I still get in the show? And they're like, hey, talk to the promoter. And, things like that. It was so funny. I remember being underage going there and trying to figure out if I could. And I remember going there as a college kid. And now, like, as a 30-year-old, I was like, damn, I wonder if I'm going to feel really, really old. But, I don't know. I didn't make it up there, sadly. We'll find out next. I've not been to a show at BJ since I've turned 30. Next time I go, I'll let you know if I feel really fucking old there or not. Going to see a show at a I don't know if college bar is the right word. Just obviously you get college kids there because it's like a mile and a half away from the college. I mean, it looks like a dive bar you find anywhere. I mean, it's a rad dive bar. I don't think there's anything about it, though, that specifically makes it a college bar. It's just, you're right there. So obviously that's where you go. But they get some good shows there. They got shows like long before I was going to shows where like I'd be like, oh my God, like that band played there. Some really cool stuff. But yeah, anyway, I know I'm getting sidetracked here, but I guess that's what the rundowns are for. But yeah, I got to finally meet Chelsea in person. That was awesome. And yeah, the Eves were awesome. It was great seeing them play. I wish I could have stayed longer and hung out with them after. But also to tell them that, I mean, it was insane that after not playing for 3 years, having a drummer they had only played with for like a week, I mean, that show was so good. I gotta tell you, I mean, it was really good, and I was happy for him too, because on top of it being your first show back, it's also your album release show. You know, you're very, you know, I know they're very proud of that record and everything, and finally getting it out into the world. But they really, for a band too, I mean, not that they haven't ever played live before, but even when they were playing live, I think they were only really playing live for a handful of years. Like pretty tight live already, where I feel like, including the more they get back into it and kind of get in that groove, I think they're going to be quite the live band to be reckoned with. So I'm looking forward to the next time I get to see them. But yeah, that was kind of like my January. A couple guests on the show, but nothing too crazy. And then I went to a couple concerts and did some hiking and worked and hung out with friends and was in Illinois for like way too long, or I guess not way too long. It was a good time, but yeah, that was kind of the start of the year. Now we're into February. But yeah, kind of keeping this one short. I just thought I'd jump on. We'll keep it short. We'll get into some new music now. There was some stuff that came out this month, but a lot of I feel like a lot of like singles to kind of get like stuff coming out later on in the year. But Liquids, a band I love very much, their record Life is Pain Idiot, which was one of my favorites of 2021. They put out a new release called Songs. It is I mean, it's like a mixture. Some of the songs are new, some are like rarities or unreleased stuff, but it's Liquids. It's good punk rock, and you know, much like their other stuff, go over, if you're listening to this the day I put this out, Friday, it is Bandcamp Friday. Not a bad day to go grab any of this music on there. But I want to say this one is only on Bandcamp, just like most of their stuff. You can't find them on Spotify and stuff. You can find them like on YouTube and shit, but to, you know, go support them, go buy it. It is on Bandcamp. Kepi and Friends, Kepi Gooley, who I believe I've talked about, he helped me out a little bit when I was in Sacramento stranded with after getting in a hit and run. He was giving me recommendations for body shops, which was very cool. But he has put out a great new cover record, Full Moon Forever. But on top of that, it's tons and tons of different covers. But like on top of that, he just like Pirates Press just like repressed a bunch of Groovy Ghoulies records. They just put out one for Valentine's Day of Kepi doing a bunch of like Ramones love songs. Like there's like a ton that just kind of got dropped like the last day or two as well. Like after, like I was kind of getting my list of new music for the month around, and then I think a day or two after me writing it out, they announced all that. So there's like a ton coming out from Kepi Gooley and Groovy Ghoulies represses and stuff. Lots to check out if you're a fan. Grade 2, a band I was just talking to Leo. Love Breakers and Reminders are on tour right now, and they got I forget which dude from Grade 2 is on tour with them, but just a big old trifecta there. But some new stuff from Grade 2. Have a new record coming out this month on February 17th. They put out a new single last month called Midnight Fairy. I'll play that for you in a second. White Reaper put out Asking for a Ride, one of my most anticipated records of the year. It is already out. I've only got a few days. I mean, it's been out now, I guess, a week, and I've listened to it front to back probably like 4 times. I like it quite a bit. I do think it's a grower in some ways. Some of the songs instantly, I'm like, I loved it from listen 1, and then other ones, I think the more I listen, the more I like it. I do think side B is the stronger side on it. I both sides are good, but I think the second half of the record, which actually, to be honest, I think I started realizing it after listening to it a little, because same with the last 2 White Reaper records. I think it's the same thing. And both are excellent records. You Deserve Love and America, or World's Greatest Rock Band. Like the records are good front to back, but I honestly think side 2, the second half, is like, for some reason, that is where White Reaper shines, and it's the same thing on this record. But I mean, I like everything. The only thing I will say, like, I think they've always been a band that can kind of like blend their influences more than I would say genres. I mean, they're a rock band, but I mean, they definitely have different tastes and influences and stuff. But like, I do think on here, there's a couple times where I'm like, I don't know if they're always riffy, but more Metallica riffy than Queen riffy. Like kind of on like the first couple songs where I'm like, I don't know, it kind of took me a second to grow on. I kind of felt like it was like Metallica light, but I started liking it. But again, really strong record. I'm not saying otherwise. It is well worth your time to go listen to that. I was going to play something off it, but I played like, I think the last like 2 months I played something when White Reaper were putting out new singles. So I thought maybe we'll hold off on this one. I was going to play something off it, but I'm like, I mean, I think once a month since they've been putting out singles, but definitely recommend that album. Asking for a Ride is really good. Anti-Flag, another one from them, a new record, Lies They Tell Our Children. Reminders, I mean, if you listen to my interview with Leo Dyke, I mean, we were talking all about International Dial Tones, the new single from them, which actually I will play you for a second here, and I know maybe you heard it on the last episode, but I'll tell you why in a second while I'll be playing that. I mean, Iggy Pop, you know, I mean, just goddamn legend. I don't think I have to say much there, but he's back with another one, Every Loser. Guided by Voices, I mean, another one. I feel like I talk about a Guided by Voices album like every other month on this show. But they got a new one, La La Land. I'm sure it is far from the last album that Robert Pollard will put out this year. Guided by Voices, solo or otherwise. I'm sure it's not the last you've heard from him. Newfound Glory just put out a new acoustic one, Make the Most of It. Actually, speaking of Zach, my buddy from Illinois, I know he just went and saw them in St. Louis at a sold-out show, which it looked like from the videos and stuff, looked like a pretty cool tour. I can't say I've ever seen, I've heard them acoustic. They've done acoustic things, but I've never seen them live acoustic. That'd be interesting. And our buddies in Lovebreakers, they also just put out a new one. Like I said, Lovebreakers and Reminders on tour right now, and they just put out a great new single called Spark, like a week after Reminders put theirs out. But I thought I'd play that too, because like, you know, I always talk about these bands like the last year or so, how much I love the music coming out of the UK from like Lovebreakers, Reminders, and Grade 2, and now all of them release new music this month. So I was like, you know, I always talk about like how great that trifecta is, so why not play something from all of them? So that's what we're gonna do right now, since we got new music from all three in January. We'll start with the new one from Lovebreakers. This is their latest single, Spark, right here on the January 2023 rundown of the Power Chord Hour podcast. Right here on the January 2023 rundown of the Power Chord Hour podcast, you just heard the latest from Grade 2. That was their song Midnight Fairy off their upcoming self-titled record out February 17th. You don't have much longer to wait for that. Before that, our buddies in Reminders with their new one, International Dial Tones. And opening up that block of music was our other buddies, Lovebreakers, with their new song, Spark. And I was just looking at the dates, too. Today will, maybe the show's already happened or be happening a little later. I don't know exactly the time zone difference from here on the East Coast and then over there in the UK. But I believe it is their last day of that UK run of Lovebreakers and Reminders. But, you know, again, like I said, I want to play those three bands. I'm like, they're just so good. Like, I love what is coming out of the UK right now. I mean, there's other great bands, too. And even Leo was, like, turning me on to, like, Bad Nerves and a couple other ones I was talking to him last month. But, you know, I feel like those three right there are just so good, and wanted to kind of highlight all the good stuff coming out over in the UK right now. So lots to check out, lots to keep an eye on. You know, Grade 2 is the only one I think has a set release day. But I mean, Reminders and Lovebreakers, I think we got new albums coming at some point this year. You know, I don't think there's a set time, but all three of them should be dropping albums this year, and I am all about that. Let's get into a little music news. Happy Bandcamp Friday if you're listening to this on February 3rd. But a good piece of news, if you did not see, Bandcamp Friday is going to be continuing throughout 2023. Bandcamp announced their continuation. And if you want to write them down, Bandcamp Fridays for this year are today, if you're listening Friday, February 3rd. Next month, March 3rd, April 7th. May 5th, August 4th, September 1st, October 6th, November 3rd, and December 1st. Those are your chances to help out all your favorite artists. All the revenue goes to them. All the profits go to the bands and labels. It is I don't know, it's a great thing they do. I mean, you know, they've been doing it now since 2020, and it was interesting too, because I think a lot of people were wondering, you know, if it was going to go longer, you know, like during the pandemic and when they started doing, I don't remember if it was right in the beginning of the pandemic or if it was like during the summer or something. I think it was somewhere in there. But like I don't know. It was like, were they going to keep doing it? And I mean, it's been so popular, you know, they continue doing it. I wonder if this will just continually be a thing, which I think is so cool, because really it's like one of those, you know, it's so smart on their part, because it's like, yes, all the money goes to the artist, but like Bandcamp Friday's been talked about so much since they started doing it. I mean, I've talked about it all the time on here. You know, I think a couple of years ago, one of the pieces of music news was the announcement of them continuing in 2021. Like, you know, I mean, it's such a big thing, and I think it's good publicity for them. Plus, the other thing is, like, I mean, it gets you to use Bandcamp. Like, I know I use Bandcamp on the regular to, like, buy stuff and listen to things, and it's like, it's not like I just wait for Bandcamp Friday. You know, I mean, if if it's that week and I go, oh, I wait a couple days and I can, the artist will get everything and I'll wait. But like, I would say me and most other people, if a band releases something like a week later, 2 weeks later, it's like, it's not like you're going to be like, fuck Bandcamp, I'm not going to give you anything. I'll just wait for like 2 weeks. Like, you're still going to buy it. So I think it's very smart of them to do it. I also just think it's awesome that they've continued doing it. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, it's just great that they do that, And it doesn't hurt. I mean, the other thing is, if like the Bandcamp app and everything was like really bad or is just a really clunky, kind of product or something, and like kind of not hard to, kind of hard to use or something, but it's like, it's so user friendly. It's so artist friendly. Like I love everything about it. So yeah, I wanted to make sure I let you all know that have no fear. Bandcamp Friday is not going anywhere this year. So very good news. A really rad tour that got announced. I'm pretty stoked for this. Hawthorne Heights, Armor for Sleep, and Spitalfield are going on a tour next month in March. The Pitch Black Forever Part 2 tour. I was excited, or actually I was excited / bummed because Hawthorne Heights and Armor for Sleep did the Part 1 back in like October, November last year, but it was all West Coast. And I was like, man, I'd love to see that. But I mean, you know what? Good things come to those who wait, because Spitalfield was not on those, and now they are. And I mean, Spitalfield does not play much. And it's been years since they did like a full tour. The last full tour I remember them doing was the Remember Right Now tour like a decade ago in like 2013. Maybe they have since then. I think they've done one-offs, but like, I don't think they've done a full tour. I mean, this tour starts March 16th, goes to April 2nd. So I mean, they're playing a full, it ain't just a couple dates. Like, they're playing the whole thing. But I'm excited for it because I've seen Hawthorne Heights countless times. They're one of the most. I've seen them well over 20. I counted at one point, but even then, that was years ago. I don't even know how many times I've seen them now. But Armor for Sleep, I've never seen live, and Spitalfield, I've never seen live. I've seen Mark Rose solo a couple times, but I'm really looking forward to that. If you live anywhere near the Jamestown area, they're playing all around us. They're doing I almost want to just do all 3 shows, because I did that a few times back in the day with Hawthorne Heights when they'd come around here and hit like Cleveland, Buffalo, Rochester or something like that. And then this time they're doing Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Cleveland 3 days in a row. And I will tell you what, I'll at least be in Buffalo. That's the closest one to me, but I may be at one or the other of those other ones, because I love all 3 of those bands. They all like really too, I've mentioned this with like Hawthorne Heights and stuff, but like I definitely don't really listen as much to like, what do you want to call it, post-hardcore, emo, screamo, like the early 2000s, like the bands in the vein of who are on this tour. I don't listen to tons and tons of those bands these days. Nothing against them. It's just, you listen to different stuff. I mean, I go through spurts, I'll go back, but like all 3 of those bands are consistently ones that I feel like I'm always like, oh, I always love Hawthorne. I always look forward to them releasing new music. I mean, Armor for Sleep, I mean, that's just a given. They're great. We've had Ben on the show. But same with Spitalfield. They were something really special, too. I mean, they're one that I'm far from the first one to say it, but just one of those bands where it's like, how do they not get bigger is beyond me. So I'm really stoked for that tour. I will definitely be going to that next month. I was trying to figure out, I don't think I actually have any shows I'm going to in February. I was trying to figure that out, but I don't think I have any. And it bummed me out because I loved last month. I mean, going to see the Menzingers and the Eves, and I was supposed to go see Stress Dolls, and that fell through. But like, I'm all about getting back to going to shows more frequently, like I used to back in the day. I'm kind of getting back into that, So hopefully I can find some for February. But I at least got those for March. There's a couple. White Reaper will be playing around me in March too. There's a couple others in March, but February I think is kind of quiet. But I'm looking forward to that tour. I mean, obviously you can find dates on online. They're basically, it's all pretty like East Coast down to down south. I mean, a lot of like Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Texas, Louisiana, Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, I think I just said Pennsylvania, but all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. I love all 3 of those bands. And one more piece of music news for you. Bamboozle Fest is back. I believe we've talked about that on here, but they have announced the dates and the lineup. It's going to be May 5th through the 7th, 2023. I don't know why I had to add that. Like, you wouldn't know what fucking year I was talking about. But yeah, Bamboozle, May 5th through the 7th, 2023 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And I mean, if you probably know Bamboozle. I mean, unless you're really, really young, like, and I never even went to one, but I damn well know what Bamboozle is and all the bands and stuff that played, and what a big festival it was back in its day. I mean, I think as time goes on, and including festivals just happen more now, you kind of forget some of the, just like with Warped Tour. It's like so many things have happened in the wake of Warped Tour. Not that it's like forgotten forever, but I'm like, I think sometimes you forget of how big it was or what a massive entity it was, just because, again, I mean, it's just one of those things, it's like, it's less groundbreaking when, there's 15 others doing it now. But Bamboozle's back, one of the originals to do it, and big ol' lineup there. There's a couple they haven't announced yet, but performing will be Scowl, End It, Limp Bizkit, Saves the Day, Say Anything, The Spill Canvas, Seosin with Anthony Green, Mayday Parade, and tons more. I mean, they always have an eclectic, lineup too. So I mean, it's never just like in the pop punk emo kind of scene. I think that is the thing I think they always did really well. Like, cause like honestly, like even I look at the lineup, there's bands I've never heard of, but bands also just genres I'm not super like familiar with. But like to their credit, I think that's something they always did. They always had really eclectic lineups where like, I always kind of know it from that side where like all the drive-through bands and New Jersey bands and stuff playing it. But like, I mean, they really made sure there was a bunch of different sounds and genres and artists and stuff. I feel like they always kept it diverse, and they kind of did it again on this. I mean, I feel like they kind of kept to what made Bamboozle, people liked in the first place. And I've kind of seen, I've seen a little bit of both. I've seen some people go like, oh, it's underwhelming, but I'm like, I don't know. It seems like a Bamboozle lineup. I mean, I don't know that me personally, am I gonna travel out for that? I mean, maybe not, but these days it takes a lot for me. Like for a festival, I go like, I don't know. I really got to like it to drive that, 7-8 hours or whatever. But, and again, just also with the amount of festivals going on, you also have to now figure them out. Cause before it might've been, you had Warped Tour and then maybe like one other festival that summer, like how many music fests really were there? I mean, they're there. I'm not acting like they just, were invented last year, but like, I feel like there was X amount every year. Now it's like, holy shit, like new ones pop up every single year. But, yeah, I mean, this one kind of has a nice, it has a nice, eclectic lineup, just like you'd expect from Bamboozle. I mean, it seems like a pretty strong kind of return back. Again, I've seen some people into it. I've seen some people go like, bitch about it. But I'm like, I mean, it doesn't seem bad. I don't know. It's if that's your thing, including the scene bands. I mean, if you like what was going on at Bamboozle, 15 years ago or whatever was going on in like the early 2000s. I think they did a good job with that, kind of mixing it up too with what's going on now. So again, that's going on May 5th through the 7th in Atlantic City. Bamboozle is back. The one I want to come back is a Skate and Surf Fest, which I mean is basically the same people, but that one is kind of more more geared towards the like pop punk rock side of things. But yeah, a couple pieces of music news that got announced last month there. But I think that is going to be the episode. Nice little, kind of short and sweet for the most part. I guess we're still almost an hour. But yeah, just thought we'd do a quick little January 2023 rundown. Again, my apologies. I know it's early February. I done fucked up. But we're here. We will actually, I will say, we'll not be back next week. I had a couple guests fall through that I reached out to, and I mean, I'm doing this Friday. Just being realistic, I did it. I'm recording this Friday right now. New week in a couple days here. I mean, unless somebody miraculously gets back to me and goes, hey, like, yeah, I can do it. I think we'll probably be waiting, but I will be back, just not next week. So quick little break, and I'll be back with more for you. I'm excited to, I know we're already a month in, but still, as the year kind of starts kicking off, and as I always say, more music starts coming out in March and stuff too. So, as we keep going here, more and more to talk about and, have guests and stuff on, but I'm looking forward to it, but thought I'd jump on for that. Give us a follow online if you would. We're at Power Chord Hour on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can email me, powerchordhour@gmail.com. We got new radio shows every Friday night, 8 to 11 Eastern on 107.9 WRFA. We got replays Tuesday night, midnight to 3 Eastern. If you're on the West Coast, that's a nice early, like 9 to midnight. So you can always tune in Tuesday nights if you can't tune in Friday nights. And yeah, I believe that is everything. So until next time, for the Power Chord Hour podcast, I'm Anthony Merchant. Thank you so much for listening.